Imagine a routine flight, suddenly spiraling into a catastrophic tragedy. This is Swissair Flight 111 story. An ordinary flight on a late summer evening in 1998, destined for Switzerland from New York. On board, 229 souls, each with their own stories and dreams. They took off from the bustling airport, settling into their seats as the city lights of New York faded into the distance. The flight path was a common one, the pilots experienced, the aircraft reliable. It was set to be a smooth journey. But as we know, things didn't go as planned. An unforeseen chain of events unfolded that shook the world, leaving a haunting question. What went wrong on Swissair Flight 111? As the passengers boarded the aircraft, they expected to land in Geneva. Little did they know it would be their last flight. Behind every catastrophe lies a string of events, a domino effect that leads to the inevitable. Picture this. You're cruising at 33,000 feet, the sky's an endless expanse of blue, when suddenly, a whiff of smoke enters the cockpit. That's what happened on the fateful Swissair Flight 111. A little past an hour into the flight, a peculiar odor, akin to an overheating electrical component, wafted through the cockpit, followed by a thin haze. Alarm bells started ringing. The pilots, seasoned professionals, immediately took control of the situation. They made a crucial decision to divert the flight to Halifax, a major city in eastern Canada with an international airport. It was a race against time, a race to land safely, a race to prevent disaster. As the pilots were preparing for an emergency landing, they encountered a new problem. The aircraft's autopilot disengaged, and the flight controls reverted to their manual mode. The situation was escalating, and with each passing second, the tension in the cockpit grew. Then, disaster struck. The plane's electrical systems began to fail one by one. The cockpit went dark. A deafening silence filled the cabin as the plane's engines shut down. The pilots were now flying blind, relying solely on their training and instincts. In the midst of this chaos, a thought-provoking question arises. Would you, as a passenger, a bystander, or even a pilot, have made the same decisions? Would you have taken the same course of action, knowing what you know now? Remember, hindsight is always 20/20. As the minutes ticked by, the pilots grappled with the failing systems. Their sole focus was on getting the aircraft safely on the ground. The flight deck, once filled with the hum of a well-oiled machine, was now eerily quiet except for the pilots' focused communication. With only minutes to spare, the pilots were racing against time to save lives. The dominoes were falling, and they were falling fast. Little did they know they were heading towards a catastrophic end. The clock struck 10:31 p.m., a moment forever etched in aviation history. In an instant, the tranquil night over the Atlantic was shattered by the deafening roar of Swissair Flight 111. The plane, a symbol of human ingenuity and the marvel of flight, was in its final moments, descending rapidly towards the cold, dark waters below. As the aircraft plunged from the night sky, its silver fuselage glinted in the moonlight, a falling star in a vast, dark universe. The roar of its engines was the only sound in the night, a haunting symphony of man and machine. The plane hit the water at a tremendous speed, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. The impact was catastrophic. In an explosion of water, metal, and fire, the aircraft disintegrated, its pieces scattering across the ocean's surface. A plume of smoke rose into the sky, a dark beacon against the night. The once mighty bird of the sky was reduced to debris, its final resting place the cold depths of the Atlantic. In the immediate aftermath, the night was eerily silent. The roar of the engines was replaced by the gentle lapping of the waves against the wreckage. The moonlight illuminated the scene, casting long shadows across the water. Then slowly, the rescue efforts began. Local fishermen, their boats bobbing in the swell, were the first on the scene. With their nets and their courage, they pulled what they could from the water. The Coast Guard, their lights piercing the night, arrived shortly after. They scoured the wreckage, their searchlights dancing across the waves in a desperate search for survivors. Their efforts, although valiant, were in vain. The sea had claimed its victims and refused to relinquish them. In the blink of an eye, Flight 111 was no more. A chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the power of nature. The clock struck 10:31 p.m. and in that moment, the world changed forever. In the wake of tragedy, the search for answers begins. As the dust settled and the shock of the Swissair Flight 111 crash subsided, the world watched in somber silence. Rescue crews comprised of local fishermen, Canadian military personnel and civilians worked tirelessly across days and nights. Their efforts were heroic, but the task harrowing. The ocean, once a symbol of tranquility, had morphed into a haunting graveyard. The aftermath was a grim tapestry of debris and heartbreak. Amid the wreckage, the quest for the plane's black boxes began. These devices, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, held within them the final moments of the doomed flight. They were the silent witnesses to the tragedy, waiting to unveil their secrets. After an exhaustive search, the black boxes were finally found. Their recovery was a glimmer of hope in the gloom, a crucial step towards understanding what had transpired on that fateful night. The data revealed was painstakingly analyzed by the Transportation Safety Board of Canada. The findings painted a chilling picture. The flight data recorder indicated a rapid succession of failures, an aircraft succumbing to an insidious fire. The cockpit voice recorder captured the crew's desperate attempts to save their passengers and themselves, a testament to their courage in the face of impending doom. The analysis also pointed to a troubling fact: the fire had likely originated from the in-flight entertainment system. This revelation led to a series of questions. Could this catastrophe have been prevented? If the crew had taken different actions, would the outcome have been different? It's easy to ponder these questions from the comfort of hindsight, but in the heat of the moment, with a plane full of lives hanging in the balance, would you have made the same decisions? The findings were sobering, a stark reminder of the fragility of life. Every story, every event, every catastrophe carries lessons for the future. Swissair Flight 111 was no exception to this rule. As we dove into the intricate timeline of events, dissected the moment of impact, and delved into the aftermath and investigation, we uncovered a wealth of information that has since reshaped the aviation industry. The crash of Swissair Flight 111 was a tragedy that shook the world, but it was also a wake-up call, highlighting the need for comprehensive safety measures in aviation. It brought to light the significance of swift decision-making, the importance of clear communication, and the dire need for a deeper understanding of our technological systems. One key lesson learned was the need for quicker decision-making in emergency situations. The pilot's delay in landing the aircraft, while understandable given the circumstances, unfortunately contributed to the tragic outcome. It begs the question: would you have made the same decision under the pressure? In response to this tragic event, aviation authorities worldwide made significant changes. One of the most notable was the implementation of enhanced fire detection and suppression systems in aircraft. The inadequacy of the existing systems was a glaring issue in the Swissair Flight 111 incident, and the subsequent changes have undoubtedly saved countless lives since. Furthermore, the crash prompted a re-evaluation of pilot training programs. Emphasis was placed on emergency situation management, decision-making under pressure, and in-depth understanding of aircraft systems. Through these changes, the industry aimed to equip pilots with the knowledge and skills to handle similar situations better in the future. Lastly, the investigation into the crash led to changes in the design of aircraft electrical systems to minimize the risk of fire. It also led to the introduction of flame-retardant materials in aircraft construction. These steps have significantly improved the safety of flights. The legacy of Swissair Flight 111 is a reminder of the constant push towards safer skies. It stands as a testament to the importance of learning from our past, of constantly striving for improvement, and of never taking safety for granted.